Hi, I'm one of the High Priests of Khonshu Rey, and I have the sacred privilege of providing you, the loony listener, with a podcast honouring Marvel's very own Moon Knight. So join me and a host of others at Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, or support the show by becoming a Patreon member. Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. It's time to get your Khonshu on.
This is Noel Tate from Trapped in a World, the Howard the Duck podcast, and you're listening to Know Her is to Fear Her, the Spider-Woman podcast.
Hi, Jessica.
Who the hell are you?
The woman who's going to save your life.
Welcome back, Spider Babies, to Know Her is to Fear Her, the Spider-Woman podcast. We're your hosts, Seren and Rey. And in today's episode, we are going to discuss Spider-Woman Volume 1, Number 1. The one that started it all. Sort of.
Yes. Yeah, and absolutely. Hello, everybody. Hello, Seren. Yeah, I'm quite excited. It is a milestone issue. I mean, we've been doing the first appearance, of course, of Jessica Drew in the classic run and her lead up through Marvel 2-in-1, but this is kind of like, this is her first real solo, title. So it's a big moment, and I can't wait to cover it.
Yeah. Before we jump into that, there is some news along the grapevine. The Spanish omnibus of the Dennis Hallam, Javier Rodriguez Spider-Woman run is out, but it's only in Spanish. There is not an English edition. It makes me very sad. I'm very happy that Spain has such a huge Spider-Woman following. That is awesome that it warranted an omnibus. However, I would like to have that in the States and get my grubby little paws on it. So please write Marvel and tell them you want this in the States, please. SpideyOffice@marvel.com. Please send them an avalanche that we want it.
Exactly.
Because then maybe we'll actually get it.
Yes. And so we're setting some homework for all you eager Spider Babies. I want to do it as well. I mean, if they haven't done it in the States, they surely haven't done it over here in Australia. So if we write in, let them know. I was wondering, Seren, are you familiar with the Italian publication Panini?
I am not, but I think they're the ones who published this. But I am not.
Right, okay.
No. I've heard of them, but they're the ones who've been advertising it too. So I'm pretty sure it's them.
Yeah, because they do release English text omnibuses. That, just as an aside, they released for Moon Knight an omnibus with the Warren Ellis and Cullen Bunn and Brian Wood run. That hasn't been released in the US at all, but it is released on the...
You can get your hands on it if you were willing to pay shipping.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but it's out there and it's in English. So if not, I think saying if Marvel don't publish the Hallam run in their own kind of publishing house, there's still a chance that maybe the likes of Panini might do it.
Yeah, keep an eye out. And if it does pop up in your country in English, call me. You can find me on Twitter. Don't really call me, but find me on Twitter.
Yes.
I will probably pay for it.
Oh my gosh, Seren, Twitter. Oh my gosh.
What a dumpster fire.
You're filling me in on some of that and then I quickly...
it's a dumpster fire. It's been really bad. It's been really, really bad. And not sure how long Twitter's gonna last, but you can find us on Instagram. We had a Tumblr, but it got marked as spam because it didn't like it that we linked to Instagram. So none of our posts got seen. So maybe we'll try to get Tumblr back up and running again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for the time being, we are still on Twitter. So
We are,
some,
yes.
some great discussions and all that. But yeah, I mean, for those
We'll be on Twitter until it literally like goes offline. Like,
yeah,
But
if you know, you know. I guess
you know. Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I'll just jump into one of the news because that kind of relates to it. So what I did, Seren, because of Twitter, I thought, okay, well, how about setting up something else? So I have set up. It's still in its infancy as well, but I've set up a Facebook group as opposed to
You
the
are
actual
more active
Facebook
on
page.
Facebook than I am. Sorry to interrupt you, but like,
No, that's all right.
I'm hardly on there. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, it's still in its infancy. It's just starting. We've got a handful of members there, so thank you so much for joining. But I don't know. I'm just trying to find ways, Seren, to kind of promote more discussion of Jess. I mean, I know on Twitter, it's great. I mean, the amount of followers that you have, and the discussion generated there is fantastic. But want to kind of spread it out as well, and get it happening on Instagram and Facebook. So you can go check it out. It's a public group. There are no kind of hoops you have to jump through to join. Just join up and let's get some things in discussion. Like I'll put up the discussion threads for our episodes. So that's always a nice little springboard to talk about.
There's also a Reddit, which I have kind of fallen off the horse on. So I need to get back up in Reddit because someone put in a lot of work in that Reddit. And you should all go visit it. It's what is the Reddit address? Hey, it is. What is this subreddit called? Because it is excellent. It is really good. Like, it's awesome. It's our Spider Woman. Capital S, capital W. Spider Woman with no hyphen, all one word. Really great.
I'm gonna have to bite the bullet and go check that out. So, and I'm not really much of a Reddit user, but I do know from you that it is a quite a strong community. So
put in, it's been good. I have not been active recently, which is very bad because my life is just tired. And I don't know how you are not as tired as I am, Ray, but whatever.
Oh no, I'm withering on the inside. Don't worry.
Yeah. But yeah, we do good. We have good times. So
Awesome. Yeah. And just for those interested in the Facebook group, very easy. Facebook.com/group/SpiderWomanPod. So kind of like the same thing that we use for our Libsyn and Facebook page. Finally, also just for a little bit of news to our Spider Baby patrons, Jess and Rustin, I haven't forgotten about you. You did answer correctly the little competition that we had about about Alicia Masters and pins. Yes, so I will be getting onto that, and don't worry, I'll be in contact. We'll get that sorted. Just usual thing, kind of life busy. Work has been busy, Sarah, and oh my god.
Yeah,
but, this is kind of such a reprieve.
Yeah, it's going to be actually I'm getting into super busy season at work. I mean, it's always been busy, but it's going to be super busy season, so God. I might turtle even more.
Yeah, right up to Christmas or beyond.
All the way. No, for me, busy season. Well, Christmas, yes, but also all the way through February for me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ouch.
It gets super busy at work between now and February. So.
Deary me. Well, anyway, hang in there, Spider Babies. We'll still be around. Seren and I will move heaven and earth.
Yes, we're not going anywhere.
No,
but Twitter's a dumpster fire, so just we're still there. I'm still on it, but keep an eye out. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
Shall we get? Sorry.
It's a hot mess.
It is a hot mess. Shall we get into our Drew discussion?
Let us do it. So, Spider-Woman, Volume 1, Number 1, A Future Uncertain. Release date, January 3rd, 1978. Cover date was April 1978. Writers are Marv, Wolfman. Penciler is Carmine Infantino. Inker is Tony DeZuniga. I probably mispronounced that. Colorist is Glynis Wein. Lettered by Joe Rosen. Editors are Marv Wolfman and Archie Goodwin.
Mm-hmm. And I can't remember, Seren, had I mentioned about, the difference between cover date and release date? I think I had, hadn't I?
You had, but I forget it all.
Oh, yeah, okay. No,
It's
so
my
again,
brain.
just...
I have goldfish brain.
No worries. For spider babies that don't know, because I find it quite interesting. So the release date is the actual release of it, as Seren had mentioned, January. April, the cover date is, they put April on there so they can keep it kind of on the shelves until April. I think that's it. It's kind of like a little marker for sellers, retailers to be able to know, okay, we can start kind of bagging and boarding and putting away, I guess. So I mean, that's what I've heard. Anyway.
I will take your word for it.
Little tidbit, yeah. Sharon's gone, yeah, so?
Nope. I'll take your word for it. I truly don't know. But I don't care if the cover date for Marvel Spotlight 32 isn't the same as when it was actually released. I will still hold that February 10th, 1977 is the first appearance, because that is also Carlo Pacheco's birthday, and therefore...
Yes. Absolutement. Yeah. Absolutement. Available Spider Babies now, if you've not read this before in some format, some way or other, you can pick it up in floppy still. There are a lot of slab versions of these, Seren. I've seen them around because obviously number one.
Yeah, they actually, Marvel did, I think this is one of them. They actually did recently, within the last few years, prior to Carlo Pacheco's series launching, they actually reprinted it. Yes. I forget what they're called. It was like $1.99.
True Believers.
Yeah, True Believers. So you can get the original comic book in floppy format. So if you can find it, it's probably going to be easier to find. I think it's only literally $1.99, I think. So it'll probably be pretty easy to find. If you want an original one from 1978, pretty easy to find, but finding a one in really good condition.
Yeah. Absolutely. The True Believer one as well, I did check on eBay, at least in Australian dollars. I mean, it has risen as well. I mean,
really?
For you speculators, $12 Australian, which is what, $8 US? So
that's still a lot.
Yeah, I mean, considering it was cover price $1.99, so
yeah,
it has kind of risen a little, but it's still obtainable, I think. Check it out in floppy format. It's of course available in Marvel Unlimited, easy way to read it. On the Marvel app, of course, and Kindle, you can buy yourself a digital copy. It's in the Marvel Masterworks edition. It's
Volume 3 out in December.
Oh yeah, you've pre-ordered, haven't you?
Yes.
Yes, of course. Oh my gosh.
I'm making sure that cover date's still that release date.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making sure that's still. I'm making sure that's still. It hasn't changed.
Yes.
No, it's now January.
Oh, January. Okay.
January 3rd, 23. It got moved back a month.
It's a little bit elastic, isn't it? With those pre-orders, the dates, they kind of shift.
Yeah.
But as long as it's coming out, we all know that's good. And finally, Essential Collection. It's out of print, but if you have it in your on your shelf, go pull it out, and you can read this issue as well. Now, for those that probably haven't followed our episodes, first-time listeners, what Seren and I will do, we'll go through a synopsis graciously submitted via Wiki, and then we'll get into our notes, just, I guess, what we found important or interesting from this issue. And, they could range from stuff from the writing or the art or references, the way characters are kind of portrayed, that sort of stuff. And then we'll give this a score. We have for all the other ones, haven't we? So we'll give it a spider score.
But no tinfoil hats, because we already know what happens with the series.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, exactly. If you have a tinfoil hat here, then maybe you should just, read all the issues between 1978 and today. And we do have some feedback as well. We'll take that on after at the end. From some spider babies. So Seren, if you again, we haven't discussed this. Do you want to do the black text or the red
I will
text?
do the black text, sure.
Cool. Rightio.
This one has little footnotes in it that I'm not going to click. Anyway, Spider-Woman is inside a grocery store after closing hours thinking of stealing food. She continues to contemplate what to do with her life and who she really is and decides not to steal. Sneaking out of the store, she is confronted by Jerry Hunt, who tries to stop her. However, Spider-Woman manages to escape, although Jerry manages to grab her mask and pull it off and swears that he's seen her face before. Returning to the apartment that she lives in, all too aware of everyone's fear of her because they can sense she is more than human, Jessica Drew returns home and decides to retire for the evening. As Jess sleeps, she dreams of the brief time she spent with Madra the Mystic and how he used his magic to reveal the truth about her past. He revealed she wasn't one of the new men as she was told by Hydra's Otto Vermis. In reality, she was a human being. She is Jessica Drew, the daughter of Jonathan and Miriam Drew. They worked with Herbert Wyndham on Wundagore Mountain. Jessica fell victim to radiation poisoning, and her father treated her. Her mother, however, would eventually die. Failing to find a cure for Jessica's condition, Jonathan would leave Wundagore, leaving Wyndham to try and find a cure for the girl's radiation poisoning. Infusing her with the DNA of the spider, he put her in suspended animation for years, slowing her aging process until she developed an immunity. Years later, long after Wyndham became the High Evolutionary, Jessica was cured of the radiation poisoning, and when she was awoken, it was discovered that she had fantastic powers she would later use as Spider-Woman. Jessica wakes up from her dream screaming, but eventually calms down. She thinks about how after she later became a brainwashed servant of Hydra under the command of Otto Vermis and vows never to let that happen to herself again.
The next day, Jessica tries to find a job, but during her search, she is spotted once more by Jerry Hunt, who once more tries to stop her. Running in an alley, Jessica changes into Spider-Woman and decides to fight back. Tossing a lamppost at Jerry, she realizes that he could be killed. Quickly, she pushes Jerry to safety and flees the scene. Back home, she decides to do a better disguise job by disguising herself. To do so, she alters her masks and dyes her hair black. Going out as Spider-Woman once more, she would later find Jerry and the authorities trying to stop more crooks who are armed with high-tech lasers. She recognizes these men as Chauncy and Trevor, two men she encountered with the Thing and later Modred. Jerry is injured in the crossfire, prompting Spider-Woman to swoop in and get him to safety. She then turns her attention to the two gunmen and discovers that she's immune to the unique radiation emitted from their weapons. She easily knocks out the two men with a venom blast, then goes back to check on Jerry. As she is distracted, Chauncy recovers and manages to shoot her from behind. Quickly recovering from the blast, Spider-Woman whirls around and takes him down with another venom blast. Unsure of what her part in everything is, the police attempt to arrest Spider-Woman, despite Jerry Hunt's protests. Spider-Woman grabs Jerry and flies to a hospital where she administers a blood transfusion, allowing him to recover from his injuries much faster than normal. Not only is he surprised to learn that Spider-Woman saved his life, he's also informed that the captured criminals had stolen metal plates that they thought they could use to create billions in counterfeit money. However, a recent change in currency in the UK made this plot utterly useless. When they tried to explain how Jerry's superior Nick Fury responded to all of this, they noticed that Hunt's mind is miles away as he's still thinking about Spider-Woman. Jerry comes to the realization that the masked woman is unlike any female he has met before, and that no matter what, he wants Spider-Woman. So that
She's a woman, not a female. I hate that wording. Anyway.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, the female. Yeah. But that's a pretty thorough, I think, synopsis from Wiki. So thank you, whoever did that. Overall impressions, Seren, before we get into some of the details. What did you make of this off the back of our Marvel 2-in-1s and the Marvel Spotlights?
I enjoyed the continuity because
me too.
It was really true to what has already come before it. Like, they did a really good job setting her up in the previous issues, and technically they could have erased it and pretend none of that happened, but instead they've built on all of it to jump into her series, and I thought that's something I think that is really great about this, and I really like it. So including those two stupid crooks who, whatever.
Yeah, I was surprised that they turned up. I mean, I appreciated that they were there, but it's kind of like, wow, they were really kind of bit characters.
They're kind of like Jessica's Team Rocket.
Team Rocket? What's that?
So in Pokemon, you have like Ash Ketchum, right? And then he's followed throughout the whole series by Team Rocket, who keeps trying to steal his Pikachu.
Oh,
That's what these guys kind of remind me, like they're not trying to do anything to Jessica. They just happen to wind up in the same spot at the same time, and I think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
They're Jessica's like Team Rocket.
And added to that, their whole kind of escapade was just useless. I found that hilarious about the counterfeit, like the. So losers.
Whoops. Whoops. Well.
But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it as well too. It does have that continuity with the with the previous issues. Again, like any first issue, if it's trying to cater for people that probably have picked it up, for the first time
and read anything before.
Exactly, and I didn't find that too distracting because, if you are like a fan, and it's even harder in retrospect. It could be a little grating or just a bit boring to go through it again,
Right.
But I think this worked well for this.
Well,
and we,
Sorry, but what I actually think is like, I don't think it was like, I mean, it wasn't, even though it went over things that happened before, what I liked was that it built on it. So we had some information from before, but this went in a little more depth, which it's good for people who didn't read the 2-in-1, who maybe not have been a fan of the thing or whatever and didn't read it. Mm-hmm. But also, if you did read it, it went more into depth and explained a lot more things. So I did like that. So it didn't feel too much like a retread, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just trying to. Oh, there we go. We have a little bit. Sorry. Listeners, I have splashed up the issue for both Seren and I to refer to as we kind of talk, so just having some problems there trying to get to the first page. But there we go. Yeah, it's no, I thought it was really good in that regards as well, and we get to obviously see the genesis of the black hair, which is very iconic. But yeah, I mean let's jump into it. I mean, what kind of first point do you want to raise?
I actually really like that opening page. I think that's a really great way to start a comic, because then you're sitting there going, what is she going to do? 'Cause then you're like sitting there like, what's going on here? I actually really like that first page. Also, I really just like Carmine Infantino's art. I really do. Like.
Oh, yes. The art is really good. Yeah, I totally agree. It's just so solid throughout. That first page, it's so disorientating. It's kind of like, it's like she's on a wall, but she isn't. She's actually on the ceiling. It's askewed. It's really good opening. But I found this interesting. Like, I guess she's struggling. I mean, she's just wondering whether her next meal is. And
well, this is like when you've been Jess in your life, when you has been a shit show from the start. You are indoctrinated into Hydra. You realize everything you've been told is a lie. You realize that you're not even fully human. Mm-hmm. And now you have no direction in your life because you've just been cut loose from everything you've ever known. I mean, I would probably be struggling too. I mean, it's really, she's really, like, girl does not like herself, and she has a lot of self-loathing, like, right off the bat. But there are also questions that if I had been in her situation, I probably would have fallen in a similar path. Like, I just, like... I really, like, it says something like, you really feel bad for her. Like, wow, that's sucky.
I think also it's a good way that Marv Wolfman has, I guess, shown that, not to an extreme way, that she could easily go down another path, maybe, and to survive, maybe rob people or whatever. But in here, like, he's depicted her as just considering robbing from a supermarket. Inevitably, she doesn't. She feels that she shouldn't. So straight off the bat, you kind of know where she's at morally, I guess.
Right.
Which is good. But yeah, it was I found it interesting thing. I guess what I'm saying is that Wolfman could have easily had her try to rob someone. That would have been a little bit more dynamic than going to a supermarket.
It would have made sense too, truthfully, when you look at her whole origin series. Like, the world has not been kind to ever Jessica Drew, but for some reason she's not afraid to kick ass and, like, defend herself. but also she has every reason, I feel, in a lot of ways, to go the villain route, and she chooses not to. And I just, she's got a real good strength of character. I love Jess so much.
And so what do you make also of this as well? So as mentioned in the synopsis, Jerry Hunt kind of finds her. We know he's associated with S.H.I.E.L.D. and he recognizes her. Now, was this Seren from the prior issues? Like,
I don't ever recall him showing up there at all.
Yeah.
I have no idea. And I forget if it's something they delve into later or what. He might have been, but I don't know. I think he might have been. I mean, Fury could have sent him because Fury was involved in some of those issues before, but I don't remember seeing him like drawn in or anything. No.
Yeah, me too. It seems like a juicy point of, to note. There's like, hang on, I've seen that face before.
Yeah, I can't remember how the arc goes. I mean, I read it, but I don't remember. Yeah, memory goldfish.
And so Jerry Hunt, he kind of looking like a bit of Reed Richards, a bit of Doctor Strange without the moustache.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was their first interaction, and what I also find interesting is this, we get off the very beginning as well, Jess's interaction with, I guess, society in general. I mean, we get a nice little one page here of like, women talking behind her back. She makes me queasy all over, one says. We got the youths, she's quite attractive, but she's a little weird, they say.
Well, she would be a little weird, but yes.
Well, I think they mentioned that she has this kind of look on her face that, I don't know, might creep out people. It seems to intrigue the likes of the landlord. Is it the landlord?
Yeah, he said, what does he say? He says, like, she's lonely. Like, she is so, like, because, Jess can't get jobs because, again, they don't like her. And it seems men are, like her. But I don't think for him it's necessarily that. I think it's a little bit of pity because... She's got nothing. Literally, she has nothing. When you look at how this comic starts, she literally has nothing but the clothes on her back.
Yep. No, for sure. And she's trying to find a job. She's trying to kind of integrate into society, but there's something just a little bit off at her. And what I had put in the notes, which I now know is kind of wrong, Seren, is that like going through this again and thinking, maybe they're all kind of a bit weirded out by her because maybe like physiologically they're kind of sensing that she's not normal.
Oh, like her pheromones?
Well, no, but later on, I think that's what it is with the pheromones. But I thought maybe, because you know how the whole switcheroo, how they did that, she was a spider that was kind of turned into a human rather than the other way around. Right. I thought it was that, but we know Modred already had said in Marvel 2-in-1 that no, you are a human being, with spider DNA. So so that squashes that. But yeah, it could well be I think it could be the subtle introduction of the pheromones, Seren. Well.
Yeah, and I can't remember if that arc starts this early or if it's something another writer picks up. I don't recall. But we don't know that at this point in time. But that could be what it is. It just also could be like she just gives that vibe, like I'm weird, stay away from me vibe. And
it's cool. It kind of makes her really mysterious in that sense. And whether or not they knew where they were going towards that, it was pretty cool. I remember doesn't she end up in some sort of pharmaceutical company or something? And
yeah, that's a really good arc with Necra. That's a really good arc.
But isn't that where around the same time she meets Lindsay? And Lindsay's the only one that just kind of goes, hey, you're pretty cool. And everyone else is like, oh, she's repulsive.
Anyway.
So we've got these little bits to add to her character, so we know she's mysterious, brainwashed, the whole Hydra thing, but now this kind of sense of mystery, I think, with the rest of society really places her on the outer straight away. Say
that again?
It really puts her on the outer, like she's really on the fringe because she's not, she's trying to integrate, but there's just something different with her. Yeah,
she's having a really hard time with it. And truly, if you are an adult in a new place, making friends as an adult is a lot harder than like when you were at school and stuff. At least that's what I found. So, there's also that on top of it.
Yes, absolutely. we also... Oh, actually, I forgot to mention, which was a bit earlier on, I love calling this out, Sarah, and I've mentioned it many times, about her sense of hearing. I love that power that she has.
Oh, yeah, she has... It's very interesting. So she's got really good hearing, and then now it seems like a lot of writers forgot, and I think one writer actually gave her a really good sense of smell in Spider-Geddon, and I forget what Carla did.
Oh.
Carla did anything.
She did. Didn't Carla do something?
Yeah.
I remember there were two crooks, and didn't one of them fart? Remember? In the run? Oh, I remember Jess was infiltrating. Okay, and there was, anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, she has really good hearing, and I think she almost has senses a lot like Daredevil, except she can see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
They should play on that.
She's got more spider DNA than Spider-Man. I can't talk today.
Yeah. They should play on that more. I think it's good. It's anyway. So as mentioned before, there's a recap with the origin and Wondergore. I mean, don't you just love that kind of Kirby-esque looking fortress or whatever it is?
No, it's really bizarre. It looks like an oil rig.
Yeah.
With like Epcot Center at the top. Yeah. So anyway, I think what's interesting here, and I was actually, as I was reading this, I was kind of bringing it into line with what Bendis did, since we're kind of going through that now. Really, it is kind of similar, because it shows here too that Jonathan and Wyndham, he wasn't always a high evolutionary when Jessica knew him.
No.
So
true.
So even though with Bendis's reworked origin, it still really kind of falls in line with continuity from what was originally established in the series, other than it doesn't say here that Wyndham was also Hydra.
And Jonathan is a lot more compassionate, it seems here.
Right.
It was brutal in the Bendis run.
Yeah, the Bendis run, it's brutal, but I like it a lot.
Yeah, and also the other big point of difference, I mean, the huge one, Seren, so here Jess gets struck down by radiation poisoning and then gets injected with some spider like serum, which was the original, whereas in Bendis there was this really kind of Miriam was still pregnant with Jess, and she gets caught in, I can't remember what it was called. It
was a radiation beam shot through the spider.
Yes.
Directly into Miriam.
But
it kind of bypassed Miriam and went right to Jessica.
So a huge kind of change there, but thereabouts, it's kind of the same. I really like the. I know this is obviously science fiction and it's all kind of comic books and stuff, but I like the logic of wanting to slow down, like putting her in suspended kind of animation to slow down her aging so her immunity can build. There's a weird kind of logic to it. I think that's I don't know, I just thought that was pretty cool. They kind of try to explain it, like, because like, why would you put her in suspended animation? Like, what's the purpose? Well, it's to slow her aging so her immunity can catch up. I don't think that works in reality, but I kind of get the rationale.
It works. I don't know. I think it was probably a popular sci-fi trope at the time too.
Yeah. I mean, these are and again, Infantino for this flashback actually using clouds as layer panels.
Yeah, to indicate flashbacks. I think that's always great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Nice little trip. Miriam, again, doesn't matter, which origin. She gets the short end of the bargain, and this was just too much for her. So
also notice that both Miriam and Jess have green eyes. I just want to say that for the record.
Very good. Yeah.
I'm very particular about Jess's eyes, guys, if you haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah. Yes. So, good points there. And of course, Jess has we see it in the Bendis origin, she's got fair hair, very much like her mum as well.
Yeah, and I like that too, because that's always like a hot point of discussion. They're like, oh, Jess is a brunette. And I'm like, no. If you look at the early comics, she is definitely blonde. And everyone goes, well, no, she dyed her hair blonde and then dyed it black. And I'm like, where did you get that from? I don't ever recall from her origin through this series, I mean, maybe later in the series her hair is a little darker blonde, but she's blonde, guys. She's naturally blonde.
Yeah.
Just let it rest. I will die on this hill. It's a stupid hill to die on, but I will die on it.
Yeah, I mean, so she's obviously traumatized by this as well. So, this is a dream or a nightmare, as you will. And this is just she wakes up. Again, I just want to point out Infantino's art, like her face, like just there, very kind of not, I don't know, it's almost like a super, it's almost like a super villain. No, I was going to say super villain, but she's not evil, but there's something, pensive about her face.
Jess has resting bitch face. It's actually she does. Word. So like I think that's actually a point of conversation in the Hallam Spider-Woman run. As a matter of fact, that Jess has a pretty imposing resting bitch face. Like you don't fuck with the girl.
Yeah, well, that is very much, again, apologies to listeners, but I'm looking at one panel.
Very intense.
She's certainly a very intense woman. Having said that, next page, I love, again, calling out the green eyes there, Seren. Her face can warm up. So despite the fact that she's trying to find jobs here and there and everywhere, she can't seem to get, to have any luck. Yeah, I mean, and
okay,
so
I do have to point out though, because as we're going through this on this page that you're showing right now, so she's running from Jerry. She's in a dress, and suddenly pants and suit, and she just tears off her dress, and I'm like, well, where were the pants before? Did she like having them hiked up like shorts or something under the skirt? Like, what about the boots? Where are those? I don't know. I have awesome. To giggle. I mean, comics, but come on, guys.
Comic, that's the biggest leap. Yeah, biggest leap of faith there. Like, what the?
I chuckled. I mean, it's a different background, too, so maybe she was, like, changing on the run.
Maybe, there are a few minutes have passed since
I actually think that's something that happens later in the series that explains it, but I don't know. I just had a chuckle out of it. Oh. I think so. I could be wrong.
Yeah. But, we get the recognized suits, that we've seen in the previous issues. Show of strength, obviously. But, again, I guess this good side of her shows. I mean, so she first goes into her automatic kind of fight mode, I guess, trained by Hydra and all that. But she's got like a conscience, like, I don't want to hurt this guy.
Yeah, she goes, I don't want to kill him, but he's a pain in the ass, so I am gonna like punch him down a notch so I can get away because he keeps like hounding her. Like I would do the same thing. Like, dude, I said no.
Yeah. I love it. Like she throws the lamppost and then she zooms in and beats the lamppost as it's flying through the air to take Jerry. So quite fast as well, And it's not long after this, I guess, because she's kind of worried about what Jerry said before, and maybe that was the purpose of "I've seen your face before" from Jerry. Maybe that was just a little setup by Marv Wolfman to give Jessica a reason to go, okay, hang on. Maybe I should change my looks. And that's where we get my gosh, this is it. The first look at Jess with the flowing black hair and the
now
new cow.
Later it becomes a wig. I prefer to think that it's not a wig and it's really her hair.
That's
what I'm gonna roll with.
Oh, well, surely it's got. I mean, she's got the hair color. So for this one at least, Oh, when does it become a wig? You're right.
I don't recall, but I remember her taking off a wig at one point.
Okay.
I think it's silly. I think it was during like later in the series during her short hair phase where she had like really short hair at one point.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't know. Maybe writers just decide to play with it. But yeah, it's good to have her. It's actually good to have two different. I mean, I can see that as well. What is it? Is it Batwoman? Does she do something like that?
I have no idea. Maybe I could see it.
Yeah, she's got the red hair as Batwoman, but that's apparently a wig, and it throws it off. Hair color is a massive deterrent, as in recognizing people. So, yeah, well done. Anyway, so she fights away as we're talking, and we come across, as we mentioned, Sarah and the two Chauncy and is it Trevor? I can't remember.
Oh, boys.
Those guys, those wacky guys, and I mean, this is again she's really showcasing her powers, which I guess you want to do in issue 1. Yeah, first time readers. So she flies. Yeah, she's strong.
Venom Blast. She's a badass.
Venom Blast. Yep. And not only that, she kind of absorbs or doesn't absorb. She just doesn't have any effect.
She's immune to radiation, which is something that Carla, I think, is touched on.
Yep.
And then with poisons, he'll get sick the first time, but if he's exposed to it after that, it doesn't make her sick anymore. She's immune to it.
So it's like a really amped up kind of way of building an immunity. Right. Just the only one. One of the things that I did, I'm going to jump to it.
Jess is so radioactive, radiation can't hurt her.
That's my point I was about to say then. So later on, she gives a blood transfusion to Jerry, and I thought, whoa, there's an opportunity there for Jerry to kind of be mutated into something as well. I don't know.
Right? Like that's how Jen Walter, I actually wrote that in my notes. I was like,
yeah.
There's no lingering effects for him from Jess, but Bruce Banner, I mean, granted, I don't know if his blood transfusion was probably as deep as Jennifer Walters was, but besides, the point of the matter is that Jerry, as far as I can recall in the series, from what I read of it, and I did go pretty deep in, there's nothing.
There's nothing. That's a missed opportunity, I reckon. You could have made Jerry. He could have been the original Michael O'Turnham.
Right, because look at what happened to Alicia, because later in Spider Island Spider-Woman, she's used as a cure, because of what happened to Jess. And again, there is Jess playing a key role in a Spider-Man event, and no one makes a big deal out of it.
I know.
But anyway.
Yeah. Has to be said, Well,
Alicia played the key role, but the matter is, if she hadn't met Jess, she wouldn't have, but that's besides the point.
Exactly. So I know. I thought that was a really interesting thing towards the end. I mean, this is also, I guess, the start of Jerry having some sort of infatuation towards Jess.
It's really kind of creepy, actually. It made me really uncomfortable, deeply uncomfortable when I read the end of that issue.
The end of that page. What does he say? He says, "She will be whoever she is. I want Spider." It's very forceful.
Yeah, I don't like it. It's
language.
It made me deeply uncomfortable, and I'm like, dude, that's no bueno.
It's almost as if, I mean, in today's day and age, if you write that, it's almost as if, okay, Jerry's turning kind of sinister psycho.
Right.
Yeah.
That would immediately highlight as bad guy to me. Bad guy, evil villain person.
Yeah.
No good.
But I think, sincerely, it's meant to be. I think it's meant to be sincere, right? That's what I'm saying. Back in 1978.
Now it was probably back then, but it ain't now, because now I'm just like, woof, that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. A little point of note, just whilst we're lingering on the last page as well, and Jess is flying, so we know it's a bit ambiguous here about her flying. I guess she just flies, whereas we know she's more of a glider, right? It's not that long.
I think it's always been a point of contention about what Jess does. Does she glide or does she fly? And I know in recent issues it's been established. Well, they call this a self-propelled glide, quote unquote, but really I don't see how that's different than flying. But in recent issues, it has been that she glides. She needs her web wings to glide.
Yes, definitely in Hallam's run, because I remember there's one page where it was focused on that, and it had her in silhouette, gliding down, and she even mentions it. So for sure, in my runs. But in here, I mean, just that third last panel, she's got, dare I say, the Superman pose, and I don't think it's an
excellent panel. I mean,
it is great.
Really great. She looks badass.
Yeah. Well, so does Jerry. I mean, again, the art is really, I like the classic kind of look to the artwork. But yeah, she's definitely gliding upwards in that sense. That was, I mean, it felt kind of short, that issue. But yeah, we get, so next, we go into a different kind of realm of Spider-Woman, more the fantastical, is that it? Or mystical?
Yeah, I would say the mystical, the magical end of things. That's more like Doctor Strange forte, but just tumbles into, because she's in London. Why wouldn't she?
Exactly, with Merlin and Excalibur. Right. But I mean, I thought this was a really nice, grounded. I mean, it really did set. It is a setup issue as well. It did set.
Well, I mean,
her
it's the
up
first issue. It's very
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I don't know. Any other points, Seren, that you made?
I don't have any other points. I just feel like I do like the art in this one. There are some issues later where I think the art's real crappy. But no, Carmine. Sorry.
From Infantino, like from the same
No,
artist?
not from him.
Oh, okay.
A different
Yeah.
artist, actor.
Okay.
But no, his issues are wonderful. I do like them. I think there are maybe a couple panels, but I think he does a really good job of making Jess look like a beautiful badass without like, you know, objectifying things.
Yeah, I was
like,
about to say, without really making her like a sex object or something.
right. I mean,
yeah.
despite the fact that her pheromones kind of that becomes a topic, but you know, I think
yeah. Sorry.
I totally lost my train of thought.
Oh, sorry, Seren. I do this all the
okay.
time, listeners. I
it's
railroad Seren's trying to.
No, you don't. You're fine. I just have a goldfish memory.
Okay. I was about to say, I mean, I just love how the introduction, if it indeed is of the pheromones, is that it's more of a repulsing thing than a because it's more so. It's definitely more like you see the reactions of the women here, and we later on find out that
we don't know why right now, but we know why later.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
spoilers.
Yeah, spoiler. Tinfoil hat theories. It's elaborated later on that for other women, like the pheromones act differently, of course, to then the pheromones on men.
Right.
So yeah, and that's what kind of makes Lindsay so different. Like she seems to be the only one that.
Right.
You know, just doesn't care, or maybe doesn't pick up on it, or whatever. But,
well, thus it becomes very interesting, those issues. That's actually a really fascinating arc. I really like that arc. It's really fascinating. Especially when you consider the times that arc was published. I'm just like, interesting.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say about this? What was I going to say? It was something about how... I don't remember. It was a really good point too, and I can't remember it. No, not your fault. I have a goldfish memory. No, I can't remember. It had something to do with I don't know.
With gliding?
No.
With artist's impression of Jess.
Yeah, something along those lines, but like I don't remember. It was going back to having to do with her social... Oh, her powers.
Mm-hmm.
So, she has these, you know, well, obviously we don't know here at this point in the series, but what is interesting to me, again, is that her powers are really, in this case, like more of a detriment in some ways to her than a help. And, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just find it really interesting. It's just really interesting. I can't wait till we get to that arc because I have a lot to say about it.
Yeah, maybe it's a sense of kind of getting used. I mean, she's had them for a while, right? So I was about to say maybe she's kind of getting used to them, but I mean, she's had many adventures before this. So yeah. Maybe again, it's this whole thing of trying to fit in to society and not like, you know, that kind of Spider-Man thing of like not turning the tap too tight because he's got super strength,
right?
As an analogy. So she's just trying to make sure that she doesn't kill anyone with her venom blasts, and she doesn't throw lampposts at people because generally they would kill people.
But that's another thing too, because again, I like to compare and contrast then and now, and I really think that Jess's through line through this is that she does like tend to punch first and ask questions later. And I like how, like, even writers now just kind of, I don't know. I just like that it carries forward 40 years later. It pleases me. I don't know.
Yeah,
exactly. You can just see a lot of, like, I know people get mad at the new stuff and saying, oh, they changed this about her background. They changed this about her background. But really, it's all still there.
Yeah, it's testament to kind of the consistency of her character in that sense. We're talking about in principle. Like you can, as you say, argue some details, but as you said, like she's very fist first, kind of find out later. She has a lot of experience, though. I mean, obviously you don't get the sense here, but like as the years go on, she's, as you mentioned before, Sarah, and she mentors a lot of people, and she's kind of seen as opposed to say Gwen, Stacy, and Silk. She's on the older spectrum, the more experienced. So I mean, I like Actually, having said that, in these earlier things, you do actually see her kind of inexperience, as you were saying. So it's good that you get that growth for her too.
Yeah, there's a lot of you can kind of see, but see, like here's the thing too with it, which is really interesting as well, because you also have at the end of the series just not showing really up in a comic again until like 2000 something, right? When Bendis brings her back. So you have that growth, and then she stagnates for so long, and then basically after so long a hiatus, I mean, I can't really blame Marvel for wanting to rework a bunch of stuff with her. Like it makes complete sense when you have a established character like Jess, who was super popular. The girl had her own cartoon show. She was the first female superhero that had her own cartoon series, like headlined her own cartoon series. And you didn't have another superhero do that again till, as far as I know, Harley Quinn, that had their own solo cartoon series.
That's massive, and they're not like just 4 or 5 episodes as well. Was it 16? I can't remember.
I don't know. It was not even that many episodes. It's like 16 I think is right. Yeah. I have to look at Disney Plus. It's on Disney Plus. It's wild, that show. Like they were on something when they made it. That's all I got to say. It's a delight.
Yes. I'm just having a look here, Seren, because it flummoxes me that there's such that big gap between
women have been on, like, women characters, female characters, whatever you want to call them, have been on team shows, but to have an actual solo headlining show, I believe Jessica was the first.
Yeah, right. Yeah, which is phenomenal, and it's great that Disney Plus have brought that back. Hopefully, we'll get to see more again of Jessica in other media. She does very well in the games sphere. She's starting to get a bit more in the comics, which is good. But we'll have to see.
There's something else I wanted to say, and I can't recall what it was. Again,
with goldfish.
I literally am thinking of things, and then it's like gone before I can really grasp it. I'm tired.
I'm just looking at, I just quickly looked at the Complete Marvel Reading Order. This is a great website. It shows every actual appearance of most, if not all, the Marvel characters in the universe. So Jessica Drew, she's currently in 755. She makes appearances in 755 comics. So after 1978, she did go missing. She turned up again, Avengers 238. I'm not sure what year that is. That's like in the mid-80s.
I was talking about the cartoon series. No, you're right. She came up at like 238. Was it 238? Because I know they brought her back in like 240 and 242.
Oh, this is the one where I've got these issues actually. This is the one with the one that you're talking about. In the hospital bed.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's in the 80s. Yeah, the 80s. So she does turn up a little bit here and there.
And again, we already discussed the Wolverine arc. So
yes, the Wolverine 88.
So she had a pretty good role, some pretty good roles there. And then, but after that, she showed up a little bit in the Spider-Woman with Maddie Franklin, because she mentored Maddie Franklin in the whole Spider-Man arc with Charlotte Witter. But like, then she was gone again.
Yeah. Absolutely. She turned up in a couple of, I'm looking here, a couple of Doctor Stranges, which is cool, and a couple of Uncanny X. Yeah.
She was big on the X-Men. She was in the X-Men a lot, thanks to Claremont.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but it's crazy how.
Speaking of which, I'm pretty sure the X-Men still owe Jess like a new apartment. I'm pretty sure they wrecked her apartment in one issue.
Yeah. The X-Men.
I don't think they ever paid her back.
You can't trust them. Dodgy people. No.
Anyway.
Love the X-Men. What are we going to rate this, Seren? What shall we give?
I liked it. The ending deeply disturbed me. Like, I don't know what it was. Like, I was like, no.
Yeah. Scary eyes.
I did not like the ending, so I'm going to give it a 4. But I did like
Cool,
first issue after what we've read and everything. I did like it. Like, I still prefer modern chess, but I did like it. I really am excited to get into the Necro arc. But yes, I am.
Yes, me too. I really enjoyed that. And the is that Necro? Is that with the Shroud? I love the Shroud issues as well.
I can't remember.
I can't remember, but the Shroud is really cool.
I thought it was Skyne. She was called Gypsy Moth at the time, but yeah.
Okay, could be. I'll give it 4 as well. I mean, 4 out of 5 is I think a pretty nice high rating. As far as first issues go, I think it ticks all the boxes. It gives you the complete kind of package, but also it has that added value of referencing the previous issues that we've just covered, Marvel Spotlight and Marvel 2-in-1. So it doesn't forget them.
Yeah, that's my favorite part about that. I really like that.
Yeah,
I thought that was really great.
So 4 out of 5. I'm gonna black hair dye bottles. I think. Yeah, very good, very strong. It makes me actually want to read Volume 1 again. I really did. The art really does help a lot.
Oh, Carmine, he's a really great artist. So I'm always like. It's a really stellar team, I think, on this book to start, and I was really sad because, when this team moved on, or was it this team or another team that moved on to Spider-Man? I forget who created Black Cat, because Black Cat was supposed to be a Jessica villain, and I'm so mad.
Yes.
But anyway,
I was glad to see Felicia doing well. Anyway,
yeah, she is. She's doing real good. I haven't read her comics, but I'm glad to hear she's doing well.
So Iron Cat just finished. Mary Jane and Black Cat is going to be out, and apparently there are more. Because I read the last issue of Iron Cat just recently. Apparently there are more plans for more Iron Cat, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Doing very
Good
well.
Deal.
We do have a couple of bits of feedback from Twitter.
Yes, the tweeter.
One from Twitter.
I love the tweeter, even if it's a dumpster fire currently.
Yes. Let's use it until it is unusable. Do you want to take this one, Seren?
I gotta find it because I X'd out of my tweeter.
Oh, that's okay. Look, I can do it. I've got it on the prompt here. It's from Jess, our beloved Spider Patreon member, at Spider-Woman OFCL.
Jess always has excellent insight.
Very, very excellent. Yes, indeed. And Jess says, something I really love about older Jess comics is all the thought bubbles. That's true. You don't get too many of those now. This comic is special to me. It's by no means the best thing ever, but it's the start of a journey and it's a crazy one. It's also the first comic I owned.
Awesome.
Wow, that is awesome, Jess. It's also where my second favourite classic Jess panel comes from. Should look familiar, and I'll have to describe this for podcasters. Jessica's like looking towards a police, I guess, and she thinks, am I cursed never to forget that I'm two beings forever at war with myself. With one hand I embrace life, with the other I wield death. That's
very dramatic of Jess.
Very cool. Yeah, Jess
but also
mentioned, sorry, should look familiar, Seren? Does that ring any bells?
Familiar.
Did someone play on that, maybe, in a modern run? Maybe
my
I don't
brain
know, Jess.
is not working today, so clearly because I can't remember half the shit that I want to say. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if Para had drawn this somewhere along the line in the Carla Pacheco run, but I truly am not. It's not. I'm sorry if it's referencing something else or it should look familiar. I mean, it does look familiar because I've read the issue before, but if it was redrawn as an homage in a later comic, my brain is not working.
I'd like to know Jess as well. Just D.
I need to go to bed.
Yeah. Okay. Jess finishes up with, overall, I think it does a lot to establish Jess as a character and set her up for a really great story without completely showing their hand.
Yes.
It's a good intro. Good enough that most of what is in here about her and her powers hasn't really changed too much since.
Truth.
Exactly what... Yeah, look at that.
You just said. Very
exactly
good.
What we mentioned. Thank you so much, Jess D, for that. And just finally, a small one here from Carlos, one of our favourites as well. He's mentioned, this issue marked my life forever. I can totally believe that, Carlos,
Yep.
because you are one of the most dedicated Spider-Woman fans I've ever met.
Yeah.
Keep it going, sir. You are brilliant.
Because of you, you have an omnibus in Spain.
Exactly.
I'm jealous. Enjoy your omnibus, Carlos.
Yes, Carlos, you willed
I will
it
live
into
vicariously
existence,
through you.
Yeah. So I mean that pretty much wraps it for this episode, Seren. It's been a great revisit of this issue. It's just it's great. I'm glad we're into volume 1 now. There's so many great stories ahead.
This volume 1 is a hot mess, but it's also a very good hot mess because you could tell they have no idea what they want to do with Jess with each writer change.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a hot mess, but it also establishes Jess in just about every single corner of the Marvel universe. So there's no reason why she can't participate in every single event that ever comes through because I'm not bitter. Yeah.
But we get some great writers here as well. I mean, most notably Ann Nocenti, Chris
Claremont.
Claremont.
Claremont knock it out of the park. Except that I feel bad for Ann Nocenti because they told her to do something, and there's a lot of pushback from that. Well, we'll get to that when we get to that. But I do like her arc. I actually would love to see Ann Nocenti take another spin with Jess.
Oh, me too. I think she'd have a lot of fun.
I think she would too. I would love to see it. I'm gonna put that on Twitter. I would love to see Ann Nocenti take another run at stab at Jessica. I would buy so many because I really love how she got Jess in this series, and I would love to see her write her again without having that ultimatum of how to end it.
Yes, yeah, without that pressure, because they're so good. Like I was on, I'll give them a shout out, Werewolf by Night podcast. I was on there guesting. We're discussing a Spider-Woman issue which had a werewolf Jack Russell in there. Yeah, and that was, I believe, actually no. I did have Jack Russell. Sorry, I had him for about 1 or 2 panels, but it was the Gypsy Moth one. Which I believe is the Ann Nocenti one, I think.
Was it? No, I don't think that was her, was it? No. That was earlier.
Anyway, I did read one with Ann Nocenti, talked about with those chaps, and yeah, very, very good indeed. All I'm going to say, Seren, is Turner D Century. I cannot wait.
Everyone is so hung up on him, and I just... it's got to be the name. It is a clever name, but
It's the name. It's the name.
It's the name, and also, I have read the comic. It is a very good issue. I have a lot of points to say on that comic, but I really think he's overrated.
Oh, massive. I think he's a glorified Z tier character. I find that name just hilarious. Whoever came up with the name.
It is a great name. I'm not gonna lie, but no.
No, my favorite is Waxman, and the
that
Needle.
One is creepy as hell.
Yeah. Those two.
That is a creepy arc, and that's where Jess gets really body horror. So we'll let you know now that when we get to those issues, we should probably put a body horror discussion warning on that because
it's gruesome. So a big thank you to our Spider patrons, of course, Miriam, Rustin, Eric, and Jess. You are fantastic, and thanks so much for all your support. All the Spider babies that do listen and interact on the social media platforms as well. A big shout out to you there too. So, Seren, what do we have coming up next?
I think next we've got Spider-Woman Origin number 4, where it starts to get real crunchy.
Oh yeah. I love this bouncing between, the beginning, the 70s, and then going to the Bendis, because it's a good way to see, compare them both.
Yeah, it really is. To have that fresh in your mind and going back and forth between the two, I'm actually really digging it. Yeah, because then you can, really look at what is the same and what's different, which is kind of interesting, because I keep comparing them in each discussion, but... And I'm sorry if we're a bit redundant between the two, but it's really, I'm really enjoying the fresh comparison of reading one and the other back to back. It's really great.
Oh, no, absolutely. No, I think it's great to reiterate, between, exactly. I think it's, we are doing these a couple of weeks or, maybe potentially more weeks apart. So it is good to kind of recap. Looking forward to that, Spider Babies. Keep your eyes and ears peeled out. Seren and I, we will try to book in a time. As we mentioned, work is getting pretty busy. It is a silly part of the season, so bear with us, but we'll be looking forward to that discussion.
Until next time.
To know her
is to fear her. I didn't know if you were going to do it or not.
Good night, everyone.
If you'd like to contact us with your thoughts on Spider-Woman and her amazing series, you can drop us a line at spiderwomanpod@gmail.com. We are also on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for Spider-Woman Pod or To Know Her Is to Fear Her, a Spider-Woman podcast. Catch us on Twitter at Spider-Woman Daily or on Discord, Tumblr, and Podchaser. Look for all our links to our social platforms in the show notes.
We are also proud members of The Collective, a supergroup of podcasters dedicated to covering all the characters and news in comics and beyond. Search for #TheCollectiveNet on Twitter to see the latest on all the shows, or click on the link provided in our episodes to give you a list of who's part of The Collective. Finally, please consider giving us a rating on either Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. Whether it be to sing your praises or give us pointers on how to improve the show, any ratings will help cast our web further and potentially reach out to more spider babies out there.
Thank you so much for listening to our show. We really appreciate it. Stay tuned for our next upcoming episode, but until then, remember, to know her is to fear her.
Spider-Woman and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Material used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only, under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.